Ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody is having a pleasant dinner tonight. And we will now begin our first session of the evening. From policy to practice. And it is an honor for us to invite Dr. Akbarshah Fikarno Laksono MA as the Vice Chairman of Commission 1, DPR RI, to take the stage. Okay. Dr. Dave is currently serving his third term in Parliament since 2014. And in addition to his parliamentary duties, Dr. Dave has held various leadership roles across both the public and private sectors, including contributing to the development of Indonesia's legislation on personal data protection and electronic information and transaction. Saya harap semua hadirin menikmati santapan malam yang sedang dinikmati, dan kita akan memulai sesi pertama pada malam hari ini bertajuk From Policy to Practice. Merupakan suatu kehormatan bagi kami untuk mengundang Dr. Akbarshah Fikarno Laksono MA sebagai Wakil Ketua Komisi 1 DPR RI untuk naik ke atas panggung. Dr. Dave saat ini sedang menjalani masa jabatan ketiganya di Parlemen sejak tahun 2014.
Okay.
Di samping tugas-tugasnya sebagai anggota parlemen, Dr. Dave juga telah memegang berbagai peran kepemimpinan di sektor publik dan swasta, termasuk berkontribusi dalam pengembangan legislasi di Indonesia terkait perlindungan data pribadi serta informasi dan transaksi elektronik. Oleh sebab itu, please welcome Dr. Dave. Let's give a round of applause.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends across from all types of companies and various industries. Pertama-tama saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada panitia dan juga pelaksana yang telah mengundang dan memberikan kesempatan untuk saya bisa diskusi dan sharing akan hal-hal terkini yang berkaitan tentang cybersecurity. Yang saya hormati di sini ada Director from Cybersecurity from BSSN, Pak Nur Rahmadi, dan juga ada Dirjen tadi apa namanya Pak? Pengawasan ruang digital, Pak Irjen Alex Sabar. Now, for most of you that are not really familiar with how ComDG works, the Ministry of Communication and Digitalizations, Pak Alex Sabar is in charge in eradicating online gambling. So every day in the morning, I usually send him a long list of all websites that's still active. So I have a team that works on it, and then so I send it to him, and then he compiles it, and then he cross-reference and see who's active and who's still inactive. But the problem is, one die, 1,000 arise. So the work is never ending, but doesn't mean that we are exhausting. Yeah, and Ibu Dr. Edith and all the team from PT Pelindung Teknologi Utama and DACTA Global, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. So thank you for coming here this evening. It is a bit rainy outside, but it still hasn't stopped us from coming and attending this lovely event. So let's get cracking. Ini oke. Nyala belum sih? Oke. Baik. So first, according to BSSN, the Indonesian cybersecurity landscape in 24, there's a total of over 56 million of exposure incidents occurred across 461 institutions, both public and private. Now, these are just the reported ones. There are plenty of others, yes, for a variety of reasons that was not reported or gone unnoticed even. So AI, it does improve productivity, but also AI itself, it can possess serious threats from deepfake to automated cyber attacks that evade traditional defense. Managing this risk calls for thoughtful regulations, ethical standards, and built-in AI design. I personally was involved. Ya, saya secara pribadi terlibat dalam pembentukan undang-undang yang tadi disebutkan ya. I was involved in making the ITE bill and the data protection bills. And now I'm also being taking helm in making the broadcasting bill. Now, but what does broadcasting bill has to do with ITE, data protection bill, or AI? Now, AI itself has no regulation here in Indonesia. Unlike our neighboring, Singapore, Malaysia, even Thailand, they have already touched upon this technology. Singapore itself, they have their own regulation in AI, specifically for education, specifically for law enforcement, for defense. So they have already mapped out and how to utilize or how to monitor or even to ensure that AI is being used for our benefits, is controlled, not necessarily controlled meaning constraining our ability to speak in the era of open democracy, but to ensure, untuk memastikan bahwa AI itu benar-benar digunakan untuk kepentingan bangsa. Ya, selamat malam Pak Franciscus, Brigjen Franciscus Ari Susetyo. Now, Pak Franciscus here is also representing our Indonesian Army, which also has a huge interest in this particular field. Now, Commission 1, the commission that I co-chair, we support in integrating AI security standards into the national cybersecurity policy. And also we stress the need for cross-sector collaboration to anticipate and address related risk. Now, because we don't really have the map yet, we don't really have the regulation yet, so we have to utilize or we have to expand the current regulation we have, whether it's bill or it is a government regulation, into managing such issues. So the policy implementation challenges. Yeah. Technical readiness it varies across all 34 provinces in Indonesia, with the average of 40% average capability gap. Now, it is imperative that all of the provinces in Indonesia have this capacity, because we are going on a digital leap, the Indonesian government. So whether it's e-government services, e-procurement, everything is going to digital. Now, if the provinces and goes all the way down to the regional cities, even in the villages, government is not prepared, it just shows the weakness and it can be easily exploited for whatever reasons. Earlier, Ibu Dr. Edith, who's a colleague of mine, and she just told me something that's quite shocking, that there's during the data theft that was occurred in our banking sector, one of the implications is that there's money stolen, illegal money transfer done from various of banks into offshore accounts. So Indonesia again is at loss, and the amount of money is in the trillion, and it happens often. So it shows that we really need to revamp our capacity in such areas. And here it shows that we only 15% of both public and private entities conduct quarterly compliance self-checks. And 90% of cybersecurity incidents reported more than 24 hours after it occurs. So it hinders real-time response. Why? One is because unknowingly, and two, maybe. So this is goes back to Pa Alex. Maybe there is an inside job. So it's either they completely unaware, or it was the work of an inside person. Now, from policy to practice. So there are key legislation and there are guidelines that was established from 22 to 24, such as the Personal Data Protection Act that was established in 22. And then there are the draft law on the multi-platform broadcasting, or the broadcasting bill that's still currently ongoing debate. And there are 4 supporting technical guidelines that was established both by the BSSN and then by the Komdigi. And then there's the standards and procedures, such as the 8 data security protocols. It also employs the encryption and the access control. And there's also the incident response playbook with 16 defined steps. It's a structured guideline that outlines how to respond to a cybersecurity incident. So it is not just encouraged, but it is mandated, that all government entities, whether it is for public services or bankings, that they have continued training in responding to the cybersecurity attack. And then the implementation support. There are 5 compliance toolkit that distributed to all the ministries and corporations, whether public or whether it's a state-owned or is it private-owned. And there are 500 data protection officers trained nationwide. Yang 500 petugas pengamanan data itu, itu di bawah BSSN kalau nggak salah Pak. Apa bergabung itu multisektoral ya. Oke, nah field implementation mechanism, bagaimana pengimplementasiannya di lapangan. Mekanismenya itu pertama self assessment audits. So each agencies and government officer itself, they have to do self assessments, they're auditing themselves. There are over 1,200 organizations. They run self assessments using the DPR compliance checklist. The institutional certifications, there are 50 accredited external auditors that has the ISO 27001 and then the PCI DSS. And there's the incident simulations. There's 20 tabletops, red team, blue team exercise per year. They're conducted to increase the knowledge and capacities. And there's the continuous monitoring, and such as real-time dashboard tracking 30 key compliance indicators to ensure that the capacity is up to date and then the knowledge is according to the current trend and data. So the compliance insight, the early engagements with 80% of critical stakeholders, it ensures alignment within the standards and the current technology, and also embedding security by design, reduce configurations, vulnerabilities by 75%. Now the numbers also can vary depending in how up to date whether the personnel and the technology and the data itself. And there's also the biannual data-driven policy reviews. It refines regulations based on real-world metrics. These biannual, it's important to make sure that everything is up to date, and also rapid adaptability. The regulation must be updated within 3 months of new threat emergence, because there might be a new technology, new concept, new program, or even new malware that could be spread out easily through technology. And what about the regulators? First, we have to maintain an active coordination with 5 national agencies, one by Kemkomdigi, BSSN, OJK, BI, and even Komnas HAM. Now, why do I put Komnas HAM here? It's because of the data protection. It's part of your human right to keep your data secure. And one of the articles in the data protection bill is for the keeper of the data is to maintain security and safety, but breaches happen constantly. And once I remember one of the reasons that we make the data protection bill is to give authority to the law enforcement agency to crack on the data theft. But still, even today, data theft is still happening. So the bill itself has been given. Now the capacity of the law enforcement has to be increased. Now it is us with the parliament, we have opened ourselves to work together with all different agencies into increasing the capacity of the law enforcement, whether through their technologies, whether their equipment, and also the know-how of the law enforcers. Yeah. And 4 quarterly forums for share of threat intelligence and best practices, and also the 3 public-private pilot projects and regulatory sandbox. It launched in 2024. And also they have to have a harmonizations effort underway with 5 ASEAN members for seamless interoperability. Why? It's because a lot of data theft is conducted cross-border. So the data might be the theft might be done overseas, and it might be sold in another country. So that is why it is important that we maintain a good communications throughout different policing agencies. And strategic roadmap. Yeah. In Q3 25, the national workshop series at 5 regions on PDP implementations for 500 data protections officers have been completed, will be completed. In Q1 of 26, it will roll out the cloud-based compliance toolkit for the 200 agencies. And then in Q2, the integrations of 10 cybersecurity's KPI, the key performance index, across 34 provincial dashboard. So each province have the dashboard, and it's always not controlled but monitored by central government. But it's not it's not stamping on democracy, but it's just to keep up capability to make sure everyone has the same standard. And then post-27s, the annual policy review cycles, agile updates, and addressing to AI or IoT threats. So, conclusions, because the time is running out. AI-driven threats are rapidly evolving, which calls for forward-looking regulations. They should include ethical guidelines, risk-based governance, and security by design practices during the development and the deployment of AI systems. And also harnessing compliance insight can accelerate digital ecosystem maturity by up to 40%, enhancing regulatory alignment, institutional readiness, and cross-sector innovations. And regulators serve as enablers, facilitators, testers, and innovations partners. Cybersecurity cannot be managed by the government alone. It requires collective engagements of the private sector, tech communities, and civil societies. And personally, my recommendation, which will work with the government is that us here in Commission 1, we advocate a unified national strategy by combining threat intelligence across agencies, improving system interoperability, and expanding digital literacy. Public campaigns should emphasize secure password practices, strict access control, and separating official credentials from personal use. Now here's the hard part. See, even I myself, I'm still use my Yahoo email. See, if I was a congressman in US, I would have been in prison by now. Because why? I send, submit, receive documents using public domain. And why don't I use the government domain? Because it's difficult to access, limited storage capabilities. And also there's other technical issues. So such things has to be fixed before we can completely transform and then move forward. So the digital leap, the huge giant leap can be achieved if all the infrastructure is fully set. And so, us in the Commission 1, we lead the efforts to strengthen cybersecurity governance through effective legislation works that has a main focus on implementing the Personal Data Protection Law and advancing the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill to establish clear institutional roles and protection standard. Now, one of the mandates from the personal data protection is that to have individual either agencies or maybe an ad hoc committee set by the Komdigi to supervise the data protection. Now it's supposed to be set by last year, but it hasn't been established yet. So this is one of the things that we have asked the ministry to wrap up or to create the committee. Then we can move forward and then actually start rolling out and then finishing the mandate that was set by the legislative work. So thank you very much for your attention. Hopefully this presentation is enough to start the discussion. Then we can have a concrete solution. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dave, for the very wonderful insight of the digital world that we're living right now and where Indonesia is going through in terms of the digital and the cyber world. And next, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Lee Yang Peng from DACTA Global to deliver the session on compliance and risk management. Mr. Lee is a senior consultant at DACTA Global with deep expertise in governance, risk and compliance, as well as offensive security. He holds a Bachelor of Computing and Information Security with honors from the National University of Singapore. Beyond his consulting work, Mr. Lee is a regular speaker at international cybersecurity conferences and will soon be sharing his latest GRC project at B-Sites Montreal in Canada. Selanjutnya kami mengundang Lee Yang Peng dari DACTA Global untuk menyampaikan sesi mengenai compliance dan risk management. Lee Yang Peng merupakan konsultan senior di DACTA Global yang mengkhususkan diri dalam layanan governance, risk, and compliance, serta layanan offensive security. Beliau merupakan lulusan Bachelor of Computing and Information Security with honors dari National University of Singapore. Selain aktif memberikan konsultasi profesional, beliau juga kerap diundang sebagai pembicara tamu di berbagai konferensi keamanan cyber internasional. Dan akan juga menjadi pembicara pada konferensi B-Sites di Montreal, Canada. Untuk juga mempresentasikan proyek GRC terbarunya. Oleh sebab itu, let's give round of applause for Mr. Lee Yang Peng.
Good evening, distinguished guests, and welcome to my discussion on the importance of risk management and compliance in operational technology, OT for short. Today's presentation is titled Cybersecurity in Operational Technology, a Business Imperative. I will explore why businesses in OT should take cybersecurity very seriously. Let us begin. First, a brief introduction about myself. I am the cybersecurity specialist representing DACTA Global, with an expertise in governance, risk and compliance, or GRC for short. Before joining DACTA, my previous role had a focus on the OT industry, and I helped organizations in Singapore in industries such as energy, transport, and finance to achieve their cybersecurity goals and improve their security posture. Today, I bring that experience and expertise to you to share more about how leaders of OT businesses can improve their cybersecurity and the benefits of doing so. The agenda for my presentation is as follows. First, introduction. Then, I explain briefly about OT and its related threats. I then explain the potential business impact of cybersecurity attacks. Following that, I introduce the concepts of risk management and compliance, and use it as a focus to build a cybersecurity strategy. Finally, I share some tips on how to choose a cybersecurity partner, as well as the subsequent recommendations for a business leader. In today's interconnected world, OT systems are no longer isolated. They are usually connected to networks such as enterprise networks, remote access, and IoT integration, which exposes them to real cybersecurity threats. Cyber attacks on OT systems can cause devastating consequences, such as operational disruption, financial loss, or safety issues such as personal injuries. Therefore, as leaders and executives of OT systems, it is very important to take a proactive step in managing these risks. Before I dive any deeper, I'd like to clarify what exactly is operational technology or OT. OT systems are different from normal enterprise IT systems, as they control real-world physical processes, such as power plants, water filtration systems, transport systems, and other industrial systems. However, as these physical systems and infrastructure cannot be easily upgraded compared to IT systems, they tend to develop several critical security vulnerabilities over the course of time, making them uniquely vulnerable in today's landscape. So, what makes OT systems such an attractive target for attackers? Firstly, the reward for breaching such systems is high, with major real-world consequences. Secondly, OT systems usually run on outdated systems, which means that once they are able to enter the network, compromising the rest of the assets can be much easier. Thirdly, OT systems tend to have poor visibility, which makes it easier for attackers to stay hidden for longer. Finally, as OT and IT systems continue to converge, there are more opportunities than ever before to compromise an OT target. Let's analyze what are the biggest threats to OT systems today. Firstly, ransomware gangs, which are the biggest cybersecurity threats today, can infiltrate OT systems after breaching the enterprise systems, leading to operational disruption or safety issues. Next, insider threats, which may include both accidental mistakes or intentional sabotage by employees or contractors who have physical access to the OT systems. Thirdly, supply chain compromise, where attackers can find a pathway into your network through vendors and third-party systems. And finally, state-sponsored actors who may target critical infrastructure as part of cyber warfare. Now, we've analyzed the why and the who. So what are the potential consequences of OT cyber attacks? The major consequences are operational disruption or potential safety issues such as personal injury or loss of life. Even a short disruption in OT systems can have catastrophic effects. And of course, regulatory fines and financial losses are a huge risk. And finally, reputational damage may occur. Let's explore a real case study that happened here in Indonesia. In June 2024, Indonesia's Temporary National Data Center, or PDN, was hit by a ransomware attack using a variant of Lockbit known as Brain Cipher. The attackers demanded 8 million USD ransom, which the Indonesian government refused to pay. This resulted in major operational disruption of immigration services, which took days to recover. The key takeaway here is that even major national critical infrastructure can be compromised, which emphasizes the need for a strong cybersecurity posture for organizations with a lot of risk. In fact, let's talk a little bit more about risk. Risk management is a core focus in OT cybersecurity. By having a strong risk management program, leaders can understand what are the biggest risks, be it financial, operational, or safety related, and prioritize mitigating actions to reduce the risk to an acceptable level. This will allow leaders to make the best business decisions to minimize the amount of risk. Another key component of OT cybersecurity is compliance. As OT systems are usually vital to a country's critical infrastructure, they are usually highly regulated with many compliance regulations. Some of these requirements include the UU-PDP law, the BSSN guidelines for critical infrastructure, international standards such as ISO 27001 and IEC 62443, and sector-specific requirements such as the strict requirements for financial institutions. What makes compliance so important in OT cybersecurity? Firstly, to fulfill legal and regulatory requirements, as they can be major fines for non-compliance. But it's not just to tick a checkbox, as achieving compliance can also build trust in customers that your infrastructure is safe, as well as ensure that organizations' security posture is strong. With cybersecurity compliance, organizations can reduce the risk of heavy financial and operational losses. With all of the above in mind, leadership has the biggest part to play in building a strong OT cybersecurity environment. Firstly, setting the strategy and tone from the top, ensuring that cybersecurity is a priority at the leadership level. Next, allocating the right budget for cybersecurity, as OT cybersecurity requires the right tools and expertise. Leaving it underfunded can lead to serious gaps. Additionally, holding teams accountable for implementations leads to solid change. And lastly, regularly include cybersecurity in boardroom discussions, ensuring that cybersecurity and business strategy are aligned. Now, I explain the concrete steps that leaders can take in order to improve their organization's cybersecurity. Firstly, conducting an OT cybersecurity risk assessment can ensure that your organization has a clear understanding of their cybersecurity risk posture and risks to prioritize. Next, ensuring that cybersecurity policies and procedures are aligned to international best practices and specific for OT environments. Thirdly, ensure that staff are well trained and understand the importance of cybersecurity. And also consider engaging specialized OT cybersecurity partners with an expertise in OT so that they can bring the most value to your environment. Lastly, consider OT-aware active monitoring services that can help your organization respond to threats faster. Finally, here are some recommendations on what to look for in an OT partner. Firstly, look for cybersecurity partners with a proven expertise in OT and ICS systems, as they can deliver visibility, asset management, and threat detection benefits better than others. Secondly, ensuring that they can provide system compatibility and support for a seamless integration with your existing infrastructure. Thirdly, solutions should be scalable, making it easier to adapt to your organization's risk posture. Finally, it would be ideal to look for a partner with an OT-capable SOC and incident response readiness, which allows your organization to recover and respond quickly from attacks. That's all for my presentation. I've explored the importance of cybersecurity in OT systems. For the next few presentations, we have invited technology partners who can provide solutions for the challenges we have addressed. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee and Peng, for the very wonderful insights on operational technology. And right now, we will begin with our Building Resilience series, in which there are several speakers who will also be presenting the materials. And for each respective speakers, there will also be a Q&A session. And so for those who have a question can write it down and can ask the questions after each respective speakers are done with their presentation. And for this Building Resilience series, let's welcome our first speaker for this series, Mr. Dylan Mak from Claroty. He is a seasoned Mr. Dylan Mak is a seasoned professional with over 15 years of experience in the field of operation technology and cybersecurity. And with a strong background in these domains, he has consistently demonstrated his expertise and leadership in various roles, starting at Vector Infotech and most recently at British Telecom. Currently, Mr. Dylan holds the position of Sales Engineer at Claroty. He engages with organizations to determine their challenges and needs and proposes the best solution that aims to protect the organization's critical assets while optimizing the process. Selanjutnya kita akan dengarkan sesi yang akan dibawakan oleh Bapak Dylan Mak di dalam sesi Building Resilience. Bapak Dylan Mak adalah seorang profesional berpengalaman dengan lebih dari 15 tahun di bidang operational technology dan cybersecurity. Dengan latar belakang yang kuat dalam kedua bidang tersebut, beliau telah secara konsisten menunjukkan keahlian dan juga kepemimpinannya melalui berbagai peran, dimulai dari Vector Infotech hingga posisi terakhirnya di British Telecom. Saat ini beliau menjabat sebagai Sales Engineer di Claroty, di mana beliau secara aktif berinteraksi dengan berbagai organisasi untuk memahami tantangan serta kebutuhan mereka dan juga memberikan solusi yang terbaik guna melindungi aset kritikal organisasi sekaligus mengoptimalkan proses operasional. Oleh sebab itu, let's give a big round of applause one more time for Mr. Dylan.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dylan again. So I'd like to reintroduce myself again to give everybody a little of context of who am I, where I come from. So just a short history, I was actually a residential engineer in Laksono when I'm in Singapore. And of course, from an OT point of view, if people who have heard of like Yokogawa, I was also a residential engineer there. So I was very predominant an OT person. And to really move on is that just now I've seen some great speakers talking about some great information, like the first one looking forward in 2027, they are going to do some policies regarding protecting IoTs from the legal point of view. And of course, the last speaker which talked about, back in 2004, there was a data center breach. And I'd like to stress a little bit of that the breach was really from an IT perspective, but there's one very important use case from the data center. That if I want to bring down the service instead of a ransomware, what would I do? In data centers, what's important? It's not the data center of the servers because they are protected by hundreds of different security appliances. But it's your HVAC, your BMS, the one that cools the server down. Keep the temperature cool. If I bring that system down, what will happen? All the servers are fried. So this is the content of where the OTs really play a big part of it. And it's not only about OT anymore, but it's about the IoT. You have surveillance cameras over there. And if an intruder has access to the recording, they will most probably eavesdrop and see, someone is there keying in certain credential. I could be stealing the credential from there. And again, there will be your access system. These are classified as your IoT. So, and Gartner recently have launched, let's not make OT, let's not make IoT. Gartner now call it CPS, Cyber Physical System, that consists of your IoT devices, your OT devices, and a little bit context in terms of hospital, your IOMTs. They all classify under the CPS. And today my topic is really talking about how do we protect the system. It's a journey, like from IT side again, but there are very key elements and different stakeholders. Like the previous presenter who talks about from a cyber team must be involved, the board must be coming in. And we have folks most probably coming from the IT side of the department or even the OT side of it. But in order to make sure that the whole project flies, you need both the IT and the OT stakeholder to be involved. Why? The OT people, their focus would be, hey, operational is the top priority. I cannot have any consequences that goes down and cause disruption to the production, to the environment, that to extent cause human life at stake. But from the IT point of view is that, hey, I just need to know what are you exposed on, I need to look down, I need to make sure you are secure, because if you are being hit, I will be liable and answerable to the board. So what should I be doing? So both teams must come together. And we all know that in an OT environment, systems are being set up for the past 15 to 20 years ago. They are very legacy systems. And such systems are very sensitive that we do not want to touch, else it might break. So the very first approach we always talk about is we can't protect what we can't see. And this legacy system has been handed over by so many different ownership. Or most probably the system that was built since day one, there will be an assets registry that was handed over to them, and this particular Excel sheet that was last saved 5 years ago, that kind of information, and how accurate are we? From an IT angle, we always know that we have what tools we have in our environment, but on the OT side, it's always a black box. So how do we really uncover this black box? The first step we need to know is what exactly is in this box? What's the exposure of these different elements? Are they communicating to the internet? Is it required? If it's not, let's lock it down. So these are things that we will want to know. So by getting your assets visibility already, then you can move on to the next step of understanding the exposure of it. So understanding, hey, I have these various assets. They are not updated. They might most probably would be a Windows XP, or not to be surprised, a Windows 98, Windows 95. And sometimes it's not that they do not want to update, but it's because they are engaged with their OTICS vendor where this particular solution just only run in Windows XP. Development stop from there. They are unlike from the IT where technology keep advancing. To them is, if it's not broken, why change it? And their mentality is that, if they are using the first generation of iPhone, I would like to share this story. And if been working for 10 years, they will come back and tell you, can I buy the first generation iPhone? I don't want the Gen 10, I want the Gen 1, because it has proven working for so long. This is the kind of mentality where it's hard to change, and that is how it works in that environment. So by getting all this information ready, and when you are ready from an infrastructure point of view, like I mentioned, this production, this power plant, it's been running for so many years. And till then, when they are ready for refresh and upgrade, that is where you bring proper infrastructure into the environment by making sure that the cyber security infra is in place, because they're most probably running some unmanaged switch, you can't do much of it. But are we changing it just for the sake of cyber? No, we don't do that, because there will be big disruption. But what we can do is, before doing this, let's know what's inside, let's protect what is there, and then we take on a phased approach by achieving my end goal in the next 5-10 years. We plan something accordingly. And last but not least is that when the environment is ready, then that is where we will have all the different elements in terms of you have your SOC, your IT, OT SOCs coming in play. So today, what I'd like to share is really what they have. This is called a C10 approach. Most probably from the IT side, you're also adopting the same thing. And we also can adopt the same thing from an OT or CPS point of view. It's always talking about first, scoping up. We need to scope out and understand what are our CPS elements in our environment. And most importantly, how does it impact your business continuity? Is that always we see, hey, I got a list of different devices. Oh, everything that is critical, I must fix it. But the question is that we have to drive back and understand how bad it will impact if this goes down. So I'll make a very simple suggestion or ideology of it is that pulp and paper produce paper. But in this industry, the whole process, what is the most important thing? It's not the process of fabricating your A4, A3 paper, but it's your raw material. If the raw material is down, that impacts the whole production. Even though I have good line to produce paper, but I don't have raw material. So this would then impact the business operation of it. Every OT industry in different element, they have very different important thing. Like back to the data center, BMS is their top priority. That keeps the servers cool. That is the crown jewel. So be it vulnerability that's low, that's high, we have to look at it. So that's what we look into. We have to scope it out. But after scoping out already, this is what I want to fix. Can I know how do I see it? Where are they? What are the controllers that I have in my BMS? How do I know what version they are on? Can I trust that the vendor telling me that I have 20 odd devices running on these few different versions, and most probably that vendor last visit the data center was like 1 year ago, and how outdated is it? Is someone working on it? So we need to really discover what exactly is going on in the environment. And last but not least, did this vendor left something behind when he left the data center? Often I see many environments, especially when COVID was hit, international travel come to a freeze. And organization always say that, hey, I need my vendor to come in to fix something. And I go to the IT approach and the IT team will say, you have to apply and open this ticket and the whole process takes most probably 2 weeks. And the OT people are saying, hey, no, it's too long already. So he will do it creatively by most probably putting some 3G, 4G modem in the network. Hey vendor, you can come in and fix this problem for me. Or I'll just install a team viewer, AnyDesk. I give you the code, you can access the system immediately. This is a fast way out of it, but they are not controlled. And if something goes wrong, what will happen? And most importantly, software has this vulnerability too. He most probably would have installed and forgotten about I have installed this application. And such application always known to have many vulnerability, even from the IT angle. Even corporate IT are restricting that, hey, you should not be using TeamViewer, you should not be using AnyDesk. Please use a proper remote tools. Then next, after discovering everything, then you start to prioritize of what you want to do. Are we able to fix it? Are we able to patch it? Which most of the time, if we can't, then what can we do? Do we introduce some compensating control? Do we improve some mitigation to it while waiting for the device availability to patch it? This is how you scope it. Then after that, you validate what you have done. Then you mobilize whatever you need to do, and you go back a cycle again. Let's rescope what's next again. So it's a continuous cycle. And this is a never-ending story. So from scoping point of view, just now we mentioned about, we talked about, there will be points like, hey, I need to do all this because of compliance requirement. Auditing purpose, I need to do all these things. It could be also, this is the company journey that we would want to embark on. Well, even though there is no regulation to that, but we want to be ahead of what everybody is doing also. And it could be also, hey, I am the CISO of an organization now. My CEO or my CIO or COO just told me that as long as any cyber incident is on your head. But being me, how do I then go protect an unknown to me? So I would need that kind of visibility also. So if you look at, I have been always stressing about visibility. It's very important. And like the previous presenter talking about, OT is not like IT. Sometimes you might say that, hey, we can just use the IT tool. Your vulnerability management, bring it into the environment, start scanning it. But think about it. OT element, your cameras, your PLCs, your DCS, they are a very miniature computer running in a very low CPU performance. If you're going to scan it, it's just as good as you're going to DDoS this particular device because it can't handle the amount of packets that's coming in. and it will just go to a point that, hey, I'm going on a remote mode. Then this disrupt the whole operation. So often that's why we say we can't use such IT tool to manage in an OT environment. Next up, then I will be looking in terms of, okay, I've scoped everything that I need to do. Next up, how do I discover my devices? And for clarity wise, we have CPS native discovery. What do I mean by native? So basically, we understand a lot of OT devices in terms of how they natively communicating. Their own proprietary language. Every different ICS OT vendors has their own proprietary language. And this is something that we learn, we understand, and we use the same language to communicate with them. So that makes the whole discovery very safe. And next up is also, I'd like to share is that, beside that, from Claroty, we do have this thing called Team 82. If you're free, you can just pick up your phone and just Google. So Team 82 is actually one of our research arm, where they specialize in looking into OT devices, IoT devices, and IoMT devices. And their job is just to find vulnerability in all these various different devices. And when they find any vulnerability to it, they will contact the manufacturer and start working on a mitigation plan and remediation plan. So there are policies in place on how many days they have to get it solved, when would they publicly announce this known CVE. And on top of that, Team 82 is a registered CVE body. So last but not least, we do have relationship with all the more major alliances in terms of, if you see in here like Cisco from an IT point of view, but if you talk about OT point of view, we have people like Schneider, Yokogawa, and Rockwell. And I'd like to share one more thing. Being Claroty, one key thing is that we are also being invested by them. So we do have OT vendors invest in our company. They are our investor. And not only that, we do have end users like GM, which is General Motors, they are also our investors. So coming to a point that they understand the need in protecting OT, getting the visibility there first. So throughout the discovery, this is something very interesting. So this is what everybody will know today. I know what I have in my level 4. I know what I have in my level 5, but what's going on below? Too gray. I can't even see. So what Claroty really wants to help you is to discover the bottom part of it. The Purdue level in terms of 0 to 3. What are all your controllers there? And how do we really discover it? There's various different methods. I wouldn't want to drive in there, but we can definitely talk offline. But in simple, we have methods to really discover what assets you have, what are the information. I'll skip this first, and which is this part, which is what are the information that we are picking out. So if you look at what's important, you need to understand for assets is that what kind of, are they running on an outdated firmware? How do I know? I must know what firmware version they're on. And I will also compare what is the current running firmware. Are they trying to communicate to the internet? Are they using unsecure protocol like HTTP? Or even worse, SMBv1? So these are different protocols that have, honestly, from an IT angle, there are many attacks playbook that we can expose through it. And most of the time, a lot of customers, especially from the OT side, will be asking me, hey Dylan, do we really have an OT type of attack? But I'll be upfront and tell you, most attacks are relying on IT use cases to attack an OT infrastructure. So like one simple use case I like to share that, why people are recommending people to disable SMBv1, because there is a vulnerability to it that I can execute a WMI hidden under the tunnel. So I can use the same attack script to control a HMI. Because again, if we look back, a HMI is still a Windows environment. Or an engineering workstation is also running on a Windows environment. They are no different from IT. But the different part is that they are running an OT application, processing OT technologies on top of it. So for us, by narrowing down, I get to know the version. Then I'm able to tell, hey, what I'm doing is a full match CVE. This CVE announced that this model, this version, you're impacted to this particular vulnerability. And then we match from there. And in the past, everybody would say, hey, anything that is critical, let's patch that. But I think we have moved to a stage that if it's critical, but it's not actively being exploited, or there's no known exploit to it, we should maybe take a break and leave it first, because if something that's medium in terms of CVSS scoring, but it's actively being exploited and there's known exploit to it, which would you want to fix first? Definitely the one that's medium, because it's being used in the wild. There's known exploit to it already. People write up the script for it already. So this actually helps you to prioritize, hey, what's important and where should I go first by understanding all the various different assets. This is what I mentioned. If you look at traditionally in an OT management, you'll see many different vulnerability. And after prioritizing, you'll notice that, hey, 23% are with critical CVSS. But actually only 1.3% has known exploit to it. And out of this is a blind spot that you really want to look into, so that this helps you to drive down in terms of your prioritization. Chasing vulnerability is tiring. Even from your IT angle, they'll tell you, today, I fixed 100 vulnerability. What happened next tomorrow? I have a new 100 coming out. That's why today my context and my language that I will deliver is that you don't only change vulnerability, but you need to know the device purpose of it, which is what will impact business operation, what will impact the power plant, where is the most important element. We focus from there first. So in terms of validating and exposure and mobilizing, this part is that from our system, then you can really do a lot of third-party integration. Your existing security tool stack you might be using, like ServiceNow for ticketing, is that, hey, there's vulnerability that someone has to pick that out through a ticketing system. Someone has to respond to that. They do not have access to the Claroty dashboard. So with this integration, then you can build a better workflow process internally in your organization, where, hey, there's something, let's flag it, let's get a team to go and act on it, fix on it. And not only about ServiceNow, but I will talk a little bit in terms of firewalls. So often we talk about, now we have digitalization, everybody talking about OT, IT all connected, and we'll just put a firewall there to do the network segmentation of what is OT, what is IT. And again, often I say that firewall is your last line of defense, in my view. Why is that so? Because anything fails, if your firewall fails, that's it. And for us, we do really integration with these firewalls vendors, known vendors like your Palo, your Checkpoint, your Fortinet. And end of the day, what are we trying to do actually? We look into your OT assets, looking into how they are communicating. And most importantly, we look into the vulnerability aspect of it, and we notice that, hey, you are working on this particular vulnerability, it's exploited on, let's say, SSH. So and I can't patch this particular controller. So what can I do? And I can't disable SSH, is required to be used. So what we do is virtual patching. I can actually send a policies to my firewall telling that, hey, this device, if it's trying to go communicate out, no matter it's on SSH, it should be blocked. Or any communication coming into this device using SSH, it should be blocked also. So you'll come to a point that, hey Dylan, but firewalls, we do any to any and we block everything already. What if happened, this rule failed? So virtual patching is on top of that, I go create a policy and make sure it is really blocked. So this helps to mitigate the situation while pending for right time frame to do a firmware upgrade. So like I mentioned, by mobilizing everything, I talk about patching. Next, I talk about hardening, asset-centric, and last but not least is network-centric hardening. So if you ask me, network-centric hardening, this is more applicable in a hospital environment. Why do I say that? Infrastructure is more mature in a hospital environment. They do have a lot of infrastructure there, but if you compare to an OT environment like your power plant, your water utility, the infra are very legacy. There's no way you can do network segmentation. There's no way you can do any zero trust, your micro segmentation, because firstly the switches are managed. There's nothing to be managed about. So, but what we can do from there is that by listening to the environment, understanding what are communicating out of the environment while waiting for the infra to be ready, then that is where you can really talk about your other tools of segmentation. But prior to that, what do you want to do? I recall that earlier on we talked about compliance. there's a big compliance, they talk about 62443. It's a very big compliance. I took 6 months to really study it, but again, key focus of 62443 is all talking about one major thing, zones and conduits. So basically, it's by identifying all your various different zones, that is through your prioritization, you are working on it. How are they communicating? Do they breach the regulation? Do they cross-communicate what they should not be communicating? So these are things that, how would you use tools like Claroty to really build that profile up, so it helps to improve your security posture in your environment. Last but not least, then you will create a beautiful report in the environment by looking, hey, today how is my reporting looks like, I got how many vulnerability. We will schedule this report to be sent to the higher management every 30 days. So you can definitely customize various different reports, which I wouldn't want to drive deep, it's very technical, but if anybody on the floor really like to know more about this whole dashboard, I feel free that we can have another conversation later on after dinner. So in simple, what we are really trying to cover in terms of Claroty CPS, first, getting to know your exposure management, what is being exposed. After that, you then do your network protection and your threat detection. So last but not least, it will be secure access. Secure access is again another solution I would like to touch base a bit. So in the past, Claroty calls it secure remote access, but we have renamed the product name on it, not the product. Why did we rename? The word remote sparked all the OT people. The first thing they think will be remote. So my vendor will be sitting at home to access my BMS, my PLC. So from a secure access point of view is that we are governing how third-party vendors are in the plant on-premise accessing the system. Traditionally, when they come in, I'll get an escort to accompany that third-party vendor to the particular workstation that he need to work on. Then this particular escort will say, hey, I go for a toilet break. And went for 5 minutes to 10 minutes and came back and something happened to the plant. So what happened? The vendor say, hey, I didn't do anything. But the escort will be fearing for his job security. He say, no, I saw him do this. That's why it cost everything. So it becomes a finger-pointing game. Who is there to regulate on it? So secure access is really a solution where I'm going to change the process of my third-party vendor still comes to the plant on-site, on-prem. But instead of you physically sitting in front of the machine, I want you to go through my system to access the machine. So everything is being recorded, and supervisor plant manager can do over-the-shoulder monitoring, seeing what is he doing. And if he's doing something not right, he could kill the correction. And the most wonderful part, this is something shared by our customer a few years ago when they used this solution. I use your solution as a training video. Why? Because it's recorded and we can download the video. So what the customer did was, all session that is useful, he download, that become an onboarding package where new employee come in, watch through this video, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. So of course there's many different use cases to that, but this is what we call our secure access. Oh, 20 minutes, okay, I just now saw 15, that's how I was rushing through. But maybe let's open the floor for questions so far.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dylan, for the presentation. Is there anybody who have questions? Can directly raise their hands and our team will provide the mic for you to ask the question. Is there any question from the floor? Kita membuka sesi tanya jawab. Pada sesi kali ini, jika ada yang memiliki pertanyaan dapat langsung mengacungkan tangannya dan tim kami akan memberikan mikrofon untuk langsung menanyakan pertanyaannya.
Any folks that is facing any problem, being tasked to look at their OT, IoT, CPS environment? I don't think there's any question.
Well, if there are no further questions, maybe
Yeah.
you would like to continue with the
Yes.
presentation.
So if there's no further question, so just a quick last introduction of who Claroty, who we are really. So we are headquartered in the US. So employee count, we have about, this is a little bit slow, but we have about 800 over employee globally. And like just now I mentioned, these are some strategic alliance and where we really cover. So the area we focus on is really places like from your power utility, your critical infrastructure, your manufacturing, and even like commercial buildings. So these are places where we see OT elements of it, and this is where we are there to really protect the assets that are within the environment. And last but not least, just to share in terms of some key customers that are already on board with us. So you can see people like from a food and beverages, we have like Coca-Cola, or from oil and gas, we have like Chevron. And again, these are things, and most importantly, why did they choose us? Firstly, mainly we help to lower the TTV and also the total cost of ownership. And they have confidence in us in terms of Team 82 because it's our research arm that's really looking to the CPS element of it. And we are able to fulfill most of the requirement passively, safely in their CPS environment by not disrupting the process of it. And last but not least, it's a lot of seamless integration with their existing IT tools of stack that they have already invested. So how would it make more sense for them than getting us and then having integration with whatever they spent? That's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much,
I saw
Mr.
was 15
Dylan, for the
minutes. I
wonderful
think that was
presentation.
an
And
because there was
next,
initially a change in the run.
we have
But it
another
turns out
speaker.
It's fine if you continue.
And let's
Oh, I was
welcome
like
our
15
next
minutes.
speaker,
I was
Mr.
rushing.
Diar
I was like,
from
2 minutes,
Elastic.
Started
He is an Elastic Solution Architect, a technology person with decades of experience in networking, cybersecurity, infrastructure, and data platform technologies. He held technical roles at several technology companies, including Cisco, F5 Networks, and VMware. Sekarang kita akan mendengarkan pemaparan yang akan dibawakan oleh Bapak Diar Firman dari Elastic. Beliau merupakan Elastic Solution Architect, seorang pakar teknologi dengan pengalaman puluhan tahun di bidang jaringan, keamanan, siber, infrastruktur, dan platform data. Beliau pernah memegang peran teknis di beberapa perusahaan teknologi, termasuk Cisco, F5 Networks, dan juga VMware. Thus, let's give big round of applause for Mr. Diar.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat malam untuk Bapak dan Ibu semuanya. Jadi mungkin saya agak berbeda di sini, mungkin satu-satunya yang present on bahasa. It's okay, right? Oke. Ya, jadi saya di sini sebagai Elastic representatif. Jadi saya akan membawakan topik seputar cybersecurity tetap. Cuman bagaimana kita memanfaatkan teknologi gitu kan. Jadi kalau tadi kita sudah dengar regulasi gitu ya, proses gitu kan, dan mungkin kita sekarang akan diskusi lebih ke sisi teknologinya gitu kan. Nah, jadi mungkin sedikit perkenalan, mungkin tadi sudah dikenalkan juga dengan sama MC gitu ya. Saya dari Elasticsearch Singapura. Nah, jadi kita mewakili untuk presenting atau sharing lah tentang teknologi apa yang relevan terhadap pengembangan bidang cybersecurity di Indonesia lah. Nah, jadi seperti yang kita tahu gitu ya, bahwa ini juga relevan dengan apa yang disampaikan sama Dr. Dave sebelumnya, bahwa sekarang secara security landscape itu sudah berubah, gitu kan. Jadi di mana sekarang penggunaan AI itu sudah istilahnya masuk kemana-mana lah, gitu kan. Termasuk juga AI itu digunakan oleh pihak-pihak adversaries, gitu ya, atau yang memberikan ancaman, gitu ya, threat maker, gitu kan, untuk membuat advanced malware, gitu kan. Bisa jadi AI digunakan untuk hal tersebut, gitu kan. Jadi landscape-nya sudah sangat berubah. Nah, di sisi lain, gitu ya, kita juga akan berbicara bahwa data itu sangat penting. Nah, kalau kita ngomong data, biasanya data itu sebagai pedang bermata dua. Jadi di sisi lain, data itu adalah suatu yang memang benar-benar diincar sama seseorang yang mungkin sebagai attacker, gitu kan. Karena untuk zaman sekarang, apa yang bisa dicuri, gitu ya, yang sangat berharga itu bisa kita bilang adalah data. Nah, tetapi mungkin di sisi lain, kalau kita ngomong data, data itu sebenarnya juga adalah senjata untuk kita. Bagaimana kita mengungkap apa yang terjadi di environment kita, gitu kan. Cuma permasalahannya adalah mungkin tidak semua orang itu memanfaatkan data yang mereka miliki, gitu kan. Mungkin karena satu dan berbagai hal, gitu kan. Bisa jadi datanya ini disparate, gitu ya, terpisah-pisah, sehingga kita tidak punya visibility untuk data yang kita punya. Nah, jadi sebagai survei, gitu ya, sekitar 400 exabytes, gitu ya. Exabytes itu 1 juta terabytes, gitu ya, data diproduksi setiap hari, gitu kan. Cuman mungkin tidak banyak orang yang memanfaatkan data tersebut, gitu kan. Padahal kalau kita ngomong saat ini, gitu ya, data itu adalah segalanya lah. Bahkan itu yang juga dijadikan target sama ya, kalau kita ngomong malware pasti targetnya data, gitu kan. Ransomware juga targetnya data, gitu kan. Jadi semua itu related to data. Nah, sedikit perkenalan, gitu ya, mungkin untuk Bapak atau Ibu sekalian yang belum mengenal Elastic, gitu ya. Nah, Elastic sebagai perusahaan adalah data analytics company, gitu ya. Elastic itu berdiri tahun 2012, gitu kan. Saat ini sekitar ada 3.000 employees, gitu ya, mungkin termasuk saya, dan saya juga ada rekan-rekan saya di ruangan ini, gitu ya. Nah, Elastic mungkin kalau Bapak Ibu bergerak di bidang informasi teknologi, mungkin pernah mendengar apa yang namanya ILK. ILK itu sebuah software open source. Nah, ILK itu sebenarnya adalah Elastic. Jadi bisa dilihat Elastic merupakan data platform, bisa dibilang yang paling banyak digunakan. Tercatat sudah 5 miliar kali di-download secara global, kan? Tentunya dengan use case yang beragam. Nah, kalau kita bicara tentang data, gitu ya, data itu bisa punya banyak use case. Terutama mungkin kalau kita ngomong enterprise atau instansi atau organisasi, use case utama yang digunakan oleh penggunanya Elastic adalah antara lain seperti observability, yaitu untuk kita punya visibility terhadap IT environment kita, gitu kan. Yang kedua di kotak ini adalah security, yang akan menjadi topik kita hari ini, gitu ya. Yang ketiga adalah search. Nah, mungkin kalau Bapak dan Ibu sekalian mungkin nggak pernah dengar Elastic itu apa, gitu kan. Tapi mungkin pernah menggunakan aplikasi e-commerce, gitu ya. Mungkin pernah menggunakan aplikasi ride hailing, gitu ya. Pasti melibatkan aktivitas yang namanya pencarian, gitu ya. Nah, Elastic adalah back-end di belakang itu, engine yang memungkinkan Bapak Ibu mencari suatu konten ride itu dengan akurat dan relevan, gitu ya. Jadi Elastic itu sebagai data analytic platform. Tapi fokus kita hari ini adalah di ranah security. Karena kalau kita ngomong security sendiri, security pada dasarnya adalah juga data problem lah. Jadi maksudnya adalah kita bisa menanggulangi masalah-masalah related dengan cybersecurity selama kita punya kapabilitas untuk mengelola data kita dengan baik, gitu kan? Ya, sebut saja kita punya sangat banyak security appliance. Tapi kalau kita tidak memanage data dari security tool, security appliance gitu ya, atau solusi-solusi yang lain, tentunya itu akan tidak bermanfaat lah, for nothing gitu ya. Nah, makanya kita sebut juga Elastic itu coba membantu gitu ya di ranah data untuk security. Jadi dalam hal ini kita bisa mulai kenalan lah sama Elastic. Elastic itu sebagai security analytics platform gitu ya. Nah, tentunya kalau kita ngomong security analytics platform gitu kan, analytics itu akan relate ke data. Data itu pasti akan ada sumbernya, gitu kan. Nah, di sini adalah salah satu faktor yang sangat penting bagi sebuah data analytics platform, bagaimana ingestion atau integrasi dengan sumber-sumber data itu bisa dilakukan. Karena semakin banyak data, kita akan punya semakin banyak konteks, dan tentunya visibility dan istilahnya kemampuan kita untuk melakukan investigasi dalam hal security itu menjadi lebih baik. Nah, kalau kita ngomong security gitu ya, nah Elastic Security itu sebenarnya memprovide suatu platform yang sangat fleksibel, jadi di mana Bapak dan Ibu bisa istilahnya menyimpan data-data terkait security events gitu ya ke platformnya Elastic. Jadi karena kalau kita ngomong cybersecurity, salah satu istilahnya operasionalnya di bidang cybersecurity itu adalah SOC, Security Operation Center. Nah, kalau kita ngomong Security Operation Center, pasti itu tidak akan jauh-jauh dari yang namanya kita mengolah data, ya. Jadi datanya kita analisis, kita lakukan pencarian, gitu ya, sampai kita ketemu hal-hal yang merupakan potensi terjadinya attack kah, gitu ya, atau lagi ada ongoing attack. Jadi semuanya relate ke data. Jadi makanya kita ngomongnya security analytics platform. Nah, terkait perkembangan saat ini, mungkin kalau kita ngomong security analytics platform, ya sudah cukup lama lah, gitu kan. Nah, kita sekarang mungkin masuknya ke arah security analytics 3.0. Maksudnya 3.0 itu apa, gitu ya? Dimana kita mulai mengincorporate, gitu ya, kita mulai masukkan fungsi-fungsi related ke AI. Bagaimana AI itu bisa membantu kita melakukan security analytics di atas data-data yang sudah kita miliki. Nah, ini sedikit slide marketing gitu ya. Ini juga baru publish gitu ya. Jadi riset di pasar gitu ya, bahwa Elastic juga di-recognize sebagai salah satu leader di bidang security analytics. Jadi memang salah satu platform yang sangat bersaing di segmen industrinya. Jadi ini baru saja muncul di Juni 2025 ini hasil risetnya. Nah, pada dasarnya apa sih yang coba kita berikan gitu ya? Apa yang diperlukan untuk kita menjalankan SOC dengan baik? Nah, tentunya kalau kita ngomong SOC, kita akan ngomong tim analis, ya, analis yang bekerja untuk melakukan investigasi, misalnya, gitu ya. Nah, ketika melakukan investigasi, tentunya seorang analis itu perlu tools, kan? Nah, tools untuk SOC workflow paling utama adalah mungkin kita bisa melakukan deteksi threat, gitu kan? Yang dalam kelanjutannya adalah kita melakukan proteksi, gitu kan. Nah, untuk setelah kita melakukan deteksi, selanjutnya teman-teman analis ini itu juga harus melakukan investigasi untuk menemukan istilahnya root cause-nya ini apa sih? Attack ini terjadi penyebabnya dari mana masuknya, gitu ya. Kemudian apa yang ditarget, gitu kan. Nah, semua itu pastinya related ke data. Balik lagi kita ngomong data, gitu ya. Jadi data yang akan memberikan jawabannya sebenarnya. Nah, cuman bagaimana data itu bisa memberikan insight itu juga akan tergantung platform yang digunakan, gitu kan. Nah, setelah melakukan investigasi gitu ya, tentunya dalam workflow related ke cybersecurity, tentunya kita juga akan perlu melakukan yang namanya respon, gitu ya. Bagaimana kita bisa memberikan respon dengan cepat sehingga attack yang terjadi itu bisa diremediasi dengan baik. Nah, kalau kita ngomong istilahnya data analytic platform, tentunya kemampuan untuk terintegrasi dengan data source itu sangat penting. Nah, Elastic dikenal sebagai salah satu platform yang sangat fleksibel. Ini punya sangat banyak integrasi teknologi. Jadi salah satunya mungkin ada Claroty, gitu kan. Cuman mungkin logonya saya lihat sih belum ada, tapi itu ada integrasi dengan Claroty, gitu ya. Nah, sangat banyak teknologi yang bisa diintegrasikan sama Elastic sebagai data source, tidak hanya dari IT, bisa juga dari OT, gitu ya, untuk memasukkan datanya ke Elastic. Nah, mungkin tadi kita mungkin masih ngomong ke SIEM atau Security Analytics yang beberapa tahun lalu. Nah, mungkin yang menarik bahwa kalau kita ngomong SIEM sekarang, itu sudah AI driven. Jadi bagaimana kita memanfaatkan AI. Jadi AI nggak hanya dimanfaatkan untuk yang jelek-jelek saja, gitu ya. Tapi AI juga bisa kita manfaatkan untuk membantu security operations kita. Jadi untuk melakukan deteksi, investigasi, dan juga melakukan respons, gitu ya. Nah, jadi Elastic sebagai sebuah platform itu selalu mencoba menyematkan fungsi-fungsi related to AI yang mungkin bisa membantu tim security operation-nya teman-teman, gitu ya, untuk melakukan aktivitas dengan lebih cepat dan lebih mudah, gitu ya. Nah, termasuk mungkin kita menyematkan istilahnya fungsi-fungsi AI itu di berbagai fase dalam kegiatan cyber security, gitu ya. Mulai dari deteksi, kemudian investigasi, kemudian juga untuk remediasinya. Nah, kalau kita ngomong AI, pasti teman-teman pernah dengar ada logo-logo ini. Ini adalah LLM provider yang mungkin sangat terkenal secara global, gitu ya. Nah, sebenarnya inilah yang dilakukan oleh Elastic, gitu ya. Elastic coba menjembatani kemampuan si LLM ini, gitu ya. LLM mungkin saya sebutnya Gen AI tools lah, gitu ya. Gen AI tools ini supaya dia bisa memanfaatkan data yang kita punya. Dalam hal ini konteksnya mungkin ke security atau lebih tepatnya lagi SOC, gitu kan. Nah, jadi kalau teman-teman yang pernah menggunakan LLM, biasanya kan mungkin minta bikinin tulisan, gitu ya, atau untuk bertanya sesuatu. Nah, tapi mungkin pernah nggak kebayang teman-teman menggunakan LLM untuk bertanya, misalkan lagi ada attack apa nih di environment saya, gitu kan. Ada potensi apa yang lagi terjadi di environment saya, gitu kan. Atau saya punya data-data ini nih, buatin dong deteksi yang bisa saya implementasi untuk mendeteksi threat di environment saya dengan data spesifik seperti ini, gitu kan. Nah, kalau teman-teman coba tanya langsung dengan LLM yang ada di public, gitu ya, mungkin salah satu dari logo ini, ya kemungkinan hanya akan diberikan jawaban generik, gitu kan. Tapi mungkin berbeda kalau LLM ini dijembatani sama Elastic, gitu ya, dengan data yang internal, gitu ya, untuk membantu menjawab permasalahannya teman-teman. Nah, jadi konsep tersebut untuk yang pernah dengar kurang lebih namanya adalah Retrieval Augmented Generation atau RAG. Ini adalah konsep yang saat ini lagi hype lah istilahnya. Apapun terkait AI development pasti akan menyentuh hal ini, gitu kan. Nah, termasuk juga kalau kita ngomong agentic AI, gitu ya, dan segala macam, itu pasti masih related. Salah satu use case-nya menggunakan retrieval augmented generation. Nah, dalam hal ini Elastic memprovide solusi berbasis generatif AI itu untuk mempermudah workflow dari SOC-nya Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, gitu ya. Jadi mulai dari ketika kita melakukan onboarding data, gitu ya, kita dibantu AI, atau ketika kita melakukan alert triage, gitu ya, kita juga dibantu AI, gitu kan, atau bahkan ketika kita sebagai analis, gitu ya, untuk analis awal itu juga bisa dibantu sama AI. Nah, mungkin saya akan coba breakdown sedikit-sedikit, gitu ya, tentang contoh ada fungsi yang kita sebut dengan AI assistance. Jadi di sini contohnya adalah bayangkan kita punya sebuah tim di SOC, gitu ya, itu yang tahu semuanya, gitu kan. Tahu semuanya, bisa kita tanya banyak hal, gitu kan. Nah, ini kurang lebih fungsinya AI assistant untuk security itu seperti itu, gitu kan. Jadi misalkan, oh saya ketemu alerts nih, cuman mungkin saya masih L1 yang baru lah, gitu kan. Saya belum terlalu mengerti. Nah, kita akan selalu bisa manfaatkan teknologi AI untuk membantu memahami hal tersebut. Karena kalau kita ngomong zaman sekarang sebenarnya kita itu bisa belajar apapun dengan AI. Salah satunya adalah dalam hal atau ranah cybersecurity. Nah, jadi di sini kita bisa dimungkinkan bahwa kita akan menjadi seperti expert, gitu ya, dengan enhancement AI, gitu kan. Jadi di sini beberapa use case dari kita menggunakan AI assistance, gitu kan, dari Elastic. Jadi misalkan, oh saya mau coba mendeteksi ini tapi saya nggak tahu cara mendevelop query-nya nih seperti apa. Nah, AI assistance itu bisa digunakan untuk hal tersebut, gitu kan. Atau oh saya platform saya ini mendeteksi adanya ancaman ini nih dari my threat attack-nya itu fasenya ini, gitu kan. Ini maksudnya apa ya dan remediasinya gimana. Nah, AI itu juga istilahnya bisa kita jadikan teman diskusi lah, gitu kan. Tentunya AI yang memahami konteks data internal. Nah, ini contoh use case dari AI assistance. Nah, jadi juga bisa kita buatkan untuk misalkan, oh saya ada beberapa alert, saya pengen nanya nih korelasinya ada nggak sih alert satu dan alert lain, dan biasanya apa ya action yang perlu saya lakukan, gitu kan. Ya kadang-kadang itu juga jadi tantangan kalau kita mungkin secara pengalaman masih kurang, gitu ya. Nah, ini sekilas tentang AI assistance. Nah, fungsi berikutnya yang bisa di-provide, gitu ya, dengan kita menyematkan, gitu, fungsi dari AI adalah attack discovery. Maksudnya attack discovery itu apa, gitu kan? Nah, bayangkan Bapak atau Ibu itu sebagai istilahnya SOC analis lah. Dalam hal ini misalkan masuk kerja, oh ternyata ada 1000 alerts. Nah, 1000 alert ini mungkin kalau kita kerjakan secara tradisional, gitu ya, kita harus menganalisis satu alert, gitu ya, mungkin akan sangat memakan banyak waktu. Bayangkan kita punya asisten atau AI yang bisa menerjemahkan ribuan alerts itu, gitu ya, untuk mencari ada nggak sih korelasi di antaranya, dan ini lagi ada potensial threat apa nih terkait sama alert yang muncul tadi, gitu ya. Termasuk istilahnya detail informasi host atau vektor apa yang terkait. Nah, jadi ini kurang lebih fungsinya dari solusi attack discovery-nya dari Elastic. Ini juga memanfaatkan generatif AI. Oke, selanjutnya AI juga kita gunakan sebagai data onboarding. Jadi kita sebutnya adalah automatic import. Karena mungkin bisa aja data-data yang dibutuhkan sama bapak atau ibu itu secara integrasi itu belum tersedia di Elastic. Nah, mungkin hal yang umum kalau kita ngomong data platform, kita perlu melakukan ingestion, normalisasi gitu ya, parsing. Nah, itu kan juga sebuah aktivitas yang sangat memakan waktu gitu ya. Nah, bayangkan hal tersebut juga bisa dibantu sama AI untuk mempermudah aktivitas data onboarding gitu kan. Nah, ini adalah yang dilakukan oleh automatic import dari Elastic. Nah, jadi kenapa Elastic untuk security gitu ya? Nah, jadi kalau kita boleh simpulkan gitu ya. Jadi Elastic itu akan mempersenjatai lah analis di tim SOC bapak atau ibu gitu ya dengan production grade AI tools gitu ya. Kemudian juga Elastic dikenal sebagai sebuah platform yang sangat fleksibel. Misalkan contoh kita butuh menyimpan data dengan sangat panjang gitu ya. Karena kita tahu misalkan kalau kita ngomong security biasanya malware itu ada dwelling time gitu ya. Kalau kita tidak punya event-event yang mengcover tentang waktu tersebut, mungkin analisis kita akan terkendala gitu ya. Nah, Elastic juga sangat fleksibel untuk hal tersebut. Nah, termasuk juga Elastic bisa digunakan sebagai platform yang untuk membuat SOC bapak atau ibu itu future proof gitu kan. Jadi istilahnya keep relevan lah dengan perkembangan zaman. Nah, sebenarnya latar belakang yang tadi saya ceritakan itu bapak atau ibu juga bisa lihat sendiri. Jadi Elastic memberikan komitmennya di ranah security juga dalam menghadirkan global threat report gitu ya, yang bapak atau ibu selalu bisa lihat gitu ya. Ini contohnya linknya bisa dibuka ilas/report gitu ya, itu global threat report di tahun 2024 dari Elastic gitu kan. Jadi tren perkembangan cybersecurity sekarang seperti apa dari kacamata atau perspektifnya Elastic. Nah, Elastic juga available atau kita bisa bilang Elastic sangat fleksibel kalau kita mau deployment gitu ya. Termasuk juga available di cloud gitu kan. Jadi teman-teman atau bapak atau ibu itu selalu akan bisa mencoba Elastic gitu ya dengan memanfaatkan Elastic Cloud yang instantly akan ready untuk bapak atau ibu gunakan. Nah, mungkin kalau dari saya sekian. Kalau ada pertanyaan atau Q&A.
Terima kasih Pak Diar untuk presentasinya. For those on the floor who have any questions, you can raise your hand and our team will provide you with the mic to directly ask the question to Bapak Diar. Apakah ada yang memiliki pertanyaan? Dapat langsung mengacungkan tangannya dan tim kami akan memberikan mikrofon. Dan Bapak Ibu sekalian bisa langsung menanyakan pertanyaan.
Mungkin ada pertanyaan, boleh disampaikan.
Baik, boleh Pak, mic-nya akan disediakan oleh Fikarno.
Terima kasih. Saya Nur Ahmadi dari BSSN.
Baik Pak.
Saat ini kami sedang mengembangkan semacam CTI atau Cyber Threat Intelligence. Kami tambah CTIS sharing. Jadi ini platform buat berbagi informasi tentang adanya threat kepada semua stakeholder kami sebenarnya. Nah, mungkin sebenarnya basisnya dari MISP. Nah, kami mungkin mau komparasi dengan Elastic, apakah juga di tempat Bapak juga punya semacam platform yang sama, karena untuk CTIS ini kami belum sampai kepada tahap menggunakan AI. Mungkin kalau di Elastic sudah menggunakan AI, kami mungkin bisa belajar dari situ. Kalau untuk yang SOC-nya, identifikasi, proteksi, deteksi, respon dan recovery, kami sudah kembangkan ke arah based on AI. Jadi untuk mengantisipasi perkembangan AI yang sangat cepat itu. Mungkin itu aja Pak pertanyaan dari saya. Terima kasih.
Oke, ya baik. Terima kasih Pak Nur Rahman. Jadi related ke threat intelligence gitu ya, berarti ya Pak ya. Nah, jadi kalau dari Elastic sendiri sebenarnya itu bisa digunakan dari dua sisi kalau kita ngomong threat intelligence. Jadi karena pada dasarnya Elastic adalah search platform gitu ya, search analytic platform. Nah, contohnya Elastic itu bisa digunakan kalau Bapak misalkan punya berbagai macam sumber threat intelligence gitu kan. Cuman pingin kita mencocokkan data yang ada gitu kan, itu dengan threat intelligence dari berbagai macam sumber tersebut gitu kan. Nah, jadi itu salah satu cara penggunaan dari Elastic gitu ya. Jadi istilahnya adalah kita membuat deteksi based on indication of compromise gitu ya, IOC. Karena kalau kita ngomong threat intelligence pasti kan seputar IOC gitu ya kita ngomongnya. Dan juga itu satu sisi sebenarnya. Nah, di sisi yang lain sebenarnya karena Elastic pada dasarnya adalah data store gitu ya untuk structure data. Nah, kalau kita ngomong threat intelligence, pasti salah satu bentuk dari threat intelligence itu kan structure data gitu ya. Nah, jadi ya tetap bisa selalu memungkinkan gitu ya untuk istilahnya menggunakan Elastic untuk menyimpan data threat intelligence gitu kan. Jadi itu dua sisi yang mungkin bisa digunakan sebagai atau dengan Elastic lah. Nah, terkait AI gitu ya. Nah, kalau kita ngomong AI kan sebenarnya ini ranah yang luas gitu ya. Istilahnya kalau kita ngomong machine learning itu pun salah satu bagian dari AI. Karena kalau kita ngomong AI mungkin dari machine learning gitu ya, deep learning, kemudian generative AI itu semua part of AI. Nah, Elastic sebagai sebuah platform sebenarnya punya beberapa kapabilitas terkait AI. Misalkan untuk sisi machine learning gitu ya. Nah, Elastic juga bisa digunakan sebagai supervised machine learning untuk melakukan anomaly detection misalkan. Jadi misalkan teman-teman mengisi data di Elastic nih, mengisi datanya bisa dalam bentuk apapun. Dalam hal ini mungkin diisi data threat intelligence. Kemudian kita pengen lihat trennya menggunakan machine learning. Dalam hal ini mau ngecek ada tren yang lagi naik kah gitu kan. Mungkin kita mau ngecek ada rare value yang sebelumnya nggak pernah muncul kah gitu kan. Nah, itu kan juga perlu memanfaatkan machine learning gitu kan. Nah, Elastic itu sebenarnya juga memprovide capability itu dalam hal kalau kita ngomong AI, dalam hal machine learning gitu ya, AI ML. Nah, kalau kita bicara tentang generative AI-nya gitu kan, AI sisi lain lagi gitu ya. Nah, data dari threat intelligence itu tadi kan kita bisa gunakan sebagai detection berdasarkan IOC gitu ya Pak. Nah, ketika detection berdasarkan IOC itu misalkan menampilkan result gitu ya. Nah, result itu dengan Elastic itu kita juga bisa meminta AI lah untuk menjelaskan apa maksud dari IOC tersebut gitu kan, remediasinya seperti apa. Jadi mungkin ada beberapa cara sih kita memanfaatkan Elastic untuk case yang Pak Nur Rahman tadi sampaikan. Oke. Sama-sama Pak.
Apakah ada pertanyaan selanjutnya? Is there any more questions for Bapak Diar? Silahkan jika ada yang masih ingin bertanya dapat mengacungkan tangannya dan tim kami akan memberikan mikrofon sehingga Bapak Ibu boleh langsung bertanya. Is there any more questions from the floor? Thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak Bapak Diar untuk pemaparan yang very insightful. Terima kasih juga bagi Bapak yang sudah menanyakan pertanyaan, very insightful discussions juga. Terima kasih. Let's give a round of applause for Bapak Diar. Now we have one more speaker for tonight to complete our session on building resiliency. And our next speaker is Dr. Tan Teck Guan from PQCE. And he has over 25 years of experience in the area of cryptographic security, design, and integration, having implemented numerous successful projects for banks, government agencies, and enterprises. He previously led a multi-factor authentication solutions provider, DSG, for over a decade to eventual acquisition. Dr. Teck Guan currently runs his startup, PQCE.com, which focuses on providing post-quantum readiness solutions. He holds a BSc and MSc from NUS and a PhD from SUT. Untuk melengkapi rangkaian pada malam hari ini, Building Resilience, pembicara selanjutnya adalah Dr. Tan Teck Guan dari PQCE. Dr. Teck Guan memiliki lebih dari 25 tahun pengalaman dalam bidang perancangan dan integrasi keamanan kriptografi. Beliau telah berhasil mengimplementasikan berbagai proyek penting untuk bank, lembaga pemerintah, dan perusahaan swasta. Sebelumnya, beliau memimpin perusahaan penyedia solusi autentikasi multifaktor DS3 selama lebih dari 1 dekade hingga akhirnya diakuisisi. Saat ini beliau menjalankan startupnya PQCE.com yang berfokus pada solusi kesiapan pasca kuantum. Dr. Teck Guan meraih gelar BSc dan MSc dari NUS serta PhD dari SUT. Oleh sebab itu, let's give a big round of applause, a round welcome for Dr. Tan Teck Guan.
Thank you.
For his words.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Teck Guan from PQC, and I cannot speak Bahasa, so I'm going to apologize and I have to speak in English, and I will try to give a very short but easy explanation about quantum threat that's coming up. So a bit about PQCE right now. We are a startup in Singapore. We are a small team, software focused, where we provide B2B solutions to banks, governments, defense, to really solve the quantum threat. Currently, we are a small team of 8 persons, not like the 800 persons that you heard earlier. But we are already doing several projects. Some of the projects include from NetTrust, where we are providing some of the post-quantum solutions for their internal systems. We also have grants from the Singapore government, where we are building a complete PKI solution over an 18-month period. So that's some of the work that we're doing. But nonetheless, let's go a bit into the threat itself. Looks like I need to stand here because it's less of that thing. So quantum computers is this whole new generation of technology that we are expecting to happen within the next 5 to 10 years. Depending on who you speak to, right? You speak to the Microsoft CEO, he says 5 years. You speak to the NVIDIA CEO, he previously said 20, he changed his mind again. But it's coming. The problem is we do not know when. But when that threat comes, this is where it gets scary. Because quantum computers, because of the speed up that it does, can break a lot of the algorithms, protocols that we currently use and rely to protect our web browsing, to protect our data centers, our cloud, our identities, our passports, our payments. All of these systems will be compromised when a quantum computer is available. And it will come. It's just a matter of when. And that is what people are really worried about. So when DACTA reached out to us and said, hey, let's really try to do something, I think it's timely that we come here and share with you what we are already doing in Singapore and for the rest of the world. So we're trying to prepare the world for the post-quantum era. But let's not make me scare you about the threat itself. What is in fact more scary and what's frightening some of the banks and governments and enterprises in Singapore is that regulations are also stepping in. So it's not just about the potential technology threat, but from a regulation standpoint, back in August 2024, that's barely 10 months ago, the National Institute of Standards and Technology already announced the new PQC, Post-Quantum Cryptographic Standards. Since then, there are already so many regulations that have come out. The US CNSA 2.0 tells their very secure agencies, you know, the FBI, CIA, that by 2027, whatever they buy needs to have some post-quantum capability inside there. By 2031, they have to stop using any system that doesn't have post-quantum inside there. And by 2033, everything must be post-quantum. That's US. Europe just announced their regulations about 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, that tells all their 22 member countries that by 2026, they have to start their post-quantum migration plan, have at least one pilot, and complete all the critical infrastructure migrations for post-quantum by 2031. It's not very far away, right? I mean, we hear about Dr. Dave just now said that by 2027, we need to have some IoT regulations in place. But if by 2031, you need to complete your post-quantum migrations, that's a very rushed timeline, huh? So it's quite scary. Huh? And these regulations are coming in. So we're seeing a lot of this, and it's not just US, it's not just Europe. We've seen UK, we've seen Australia, and we expect a lot more to come in. Singapore is coming soon, so CSA in Singapore announced that they will be announcing something this year. We're waiting for it, but it's going to come soon. So post-quantum is really going to be this new threat that's going to affect a lot of the enterprises, and with enterprises, a lot of the other downstream, you know, cybersecurity companies and products and so forth that come from. So it sounds really scary, and perhaps rather than try to tell you that everything is coming and it's so scary, let me share with you what we are doing in Singapore itself. One of the threats that most organizations are most worried about is this whole data security. And this is about this harvest now, decrypt later threat. So if you have not heard of it, this is how it happens. And data is currently encrypted, right? So you're using your SSL, you're using your VPN, you're using a lot of your email systems, and they are encrypted. But they are encrypted using what we call classical cryptography. That means we're using algorithms like RSA, ECC, Diffie-Hellman to encrypt your data to make sure that this data cannot be decrypted by another hacker. These hackers also know that they cannot decrypt it right now. But what these hackers are doing is that they are harvesting the data. That means they collect the encrypted data, they store it. They store the data with the plan that in 5 years' time, they will take a quantum computer and then decrypt that data. So this is this threat of harvest now, collect now, as in today's data, but then decrypt it in 5 years' time. So if you already are using some data or transmitting some data over the internet that cannot be decrypted or should not be decrypted in 5 years, that if this data is exposed in 5 years' time, there will be bad consequences, then you literally have to start your post-quantum migration now. Because you need to protect this data to make sure that the hacker, if he collects it, should not be able to decrypt in 5 years' time. What is this data? This is really what a lot of organizations are looking at. Data that transmits over the internet. It could be your web applications. You have for banks, it could be your internet banking, it could be your mobile banking. You know, for governments, it could be your tax filing, your file transfers, your file uploads, your reporting. For data centers, we heard a lot about data centers today. There's a lot of data being transferred between data centers. You know, your AI data, all of this information that goes over the internet better be protected. And also perhaps your documents, right? Your email, your APIs, all of these also need what we call post-quantum encryption to make sure that this data, if captured or stored by the hacker, cannot be decrypted in 5 years' time. Okay, and I'm not trying to scare you from this, but a real story that I encountered when we were exhibiting at RSA conference. So RSA conference is the largest cybersecurity conference in the world, right? It happens in April, May timeframe every year. I spoke to a service provider, and he admitted that he was paid by a nation state to harvest terabytes of data and store it with the plan that that nation state will literally decrypt it in 5 years' time. Okay, he runs a Tor network and he literally was paid to do this. So people are already starting to collect sensitive encrypted data with the plan to decrypt it in 5 years' time and use it for bad things, which we don't want that to happen. Right, so one of the solutions that we have already been deploying in some customers is Safeguard, where we do web encryption, file encryption really at the HTML layer. So this is one of the solutions we have. It's a joint partnership with Microsoft that we now can use it to encrypt web applications, emails, and currently we're also implementing it for Teams as well. I would just jump a bit into the whole technical side of it. I don't want to go deeper into it, but essentially we provide an added encryption layer at the browser layer where we use JavaScript to perform encryption at the browser, and we have a backend HSM that do the decryption for you. So this is a deployed case, and we already have a couple in production. If you want to see some of this, I think DACTA has asked that we can do a demo after dinner where we can have a separate site discussion where you can do a live demo of this application. Another solution that we do is QKD Lite, which is really about using quantum key distribution or quantum key technology in order to protect some of your connections. So we already have, like, for example, POCs in Singapore where we are connecting quantum key distribution networks into HSMs. HSMs are hardware security modules which are used by banks and governments. They want to be able to have keys provisioned into their HSMs, and they want quantum safe keys provisioned there. And this is something that we do. Another thing that's been very relevant tonight, you've been hearing a lot about data centers again, how data centers are being replicating data, your elastic cloud, for example, on one side, your business data on the other side, how that data is being transferred up and down. If this IPsec VPN goes over the internet, then you want this tunnel to be quantum safe. How do we do it? There are already new standards for post-quantum IPsec, right? Using QKD or using digital QKD. All these are possible, and these are already being piloted or trialed in Singapore. We'll be happy again to show you if that's something of interest to you. So what you can do is a very simple thing. Can we just make IPsec VPNs quantum safe? And the answer is yes, there are already solutions there. There are customers already using it. And this is something that you can already do to have a quick win to make sure that data between two data centers are quantum safe. Right, so this is something that already can be done. And again, happy to share more about it. So I've really jumped quite straight into a lot of the stuff here and there, but some of the background of some of the projects that we're doing include, like, even solving blockchain technology, going into document signing and stuff. So there's a lot that needs to be done. It's a very, very exciting field. I don't want to bore you with details, but I want to end with this simple slide. That the post-quantum journey is a very long journey. It's going to start within the next 3-4 years, and it's going to last the next 1 to 2 decades. But starting early is going to help you. Why? Because the earlier you start, frankly, the cheaper it is. It's not so expensive now. It starts to get expensive once the regulations start to kick in. And how do we start? It can be as simple as just doing a crypto discovery, what we call discovering the gaps. You can do a cryptographic bomb. The VAPT team within DACTA is capable of even doing that, where they can start to go in there and look at some of the implementations which are using classical RSA or ECC, and then filter them out and tell them that, hey, these are the kinds of projects that you need to prioritize and start the migration process. 2, you can start to encrypt some of the data. There are already post-quantum encryption standards for TLS. There are post-quantum encryption standards for IPsec. They can be implemented very easily. They are already done in Singapore. Happy to work with you on it. And third, if you think that, wow, technology is too difficult, let's just do an awareness thing. That's actually something that we did for quite a while as well. We were happy to share with you on some of the white papers and some of the trainings that we do just to help people understand it. But starting this post-quantum journey is what we see is a very important step for many organizations and even countries to embark on to make sure that the threat that's coming in the next 5 years doesn't affect you, right? Right, that I think is really an important thing. So I leave you with this, and happy to take any questions because it's been a long day. I hope you guys enjoy your dessert as well. I don't hold you back on it. But any questions?